Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your one channel for everything VR related. Today, we're going over everything we know about Half-Life Alyx, sourcing multiple outlets for information, including Valve's public statements, the Reddit Ask Me Anything, play testing from Adam Savage's Tested, the recent gameplay videos from the BBC and IGN, and we will even speculate on a few topics based on the history of the Half-Life series. Since Half-Life 2 was released over 15 years ago, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of VR gamers that have no idea what all the fuss is about. Today, I'll make sure to get into that and answer any other Half-Life Alyx questions you may have. So if you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave me your comments, and consider subscribing. Okay guys, let's get into this. So let's jump right into what we actually know about Half-Life Alyx. So it's releasing on Monday, March 23rd at 1 PM Eastern Standard Time. Valve time will not factor in. This is completely 100% confirmed. Now, the minimum system requirements for this game are actually above the minimum system requirements for the Valve Index, but not excessively so. The requirements are as follows, and that's Windows 10 with Linux support confirmed to be coming at a later date, a Core i5 7500 or a Ryzen 5 1600, 12 gigabytes of RAM, and a GTX 1060 or RX 580 with 6 gigabytes of VRAM. Now, knowing Valve, their commitment to VR, and just how ingrained they are in both the software and hardware portions of development, we should expect Half-Life Alyx to run smoothly with these specs. Now, the only real example of a VR game running with the Source Engine 2 we have is Robot Repair, and that's the little demo from the lab. But based on the latest high-end VR titles, if you're looking to really push those graphics up, you're most likely going to need a Geforce 2060, an AMD RX 5700, or something even better. Thanks to Tested, we know that Half-Life Alyx works great on basically all VR headsets, and we shouldn't expect any hardware compatibility issues. Valve didn't do anything stupid like make this an Index exclusive, and in fact they went the opposite route and gave anyone who bought a Valve Index or Index related hardware a free copy of Half-Life Alyx. Now, in terms of gameplay, we know the expected campaign length is 15 hours. This comes directly from Valve, as they have stated the game is about the same length as Half-Life 2, which has an average gameplay time of 15 hours. The game will take place between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. However, before you play the game, Valve has stated you should be up to date on the Half-Life series, including the episodic content, which raises some questions that we will speculate on later. Now, the Half-Life series is currently free on Steam till the release of Half-Life Alyx, which means if you really want to, you can play through the whole thing this weekend before the game comes out. If you've never played the series, I highly recommend you do because it is still excellent. I just recently played through Half-Life 1 on my Oculus Quest and also played Black Mesa, and I'm just about done with my playthrough of Half-Life 2. There is a reason for the Half-Life hype because these games are still absolutely amazing. Now, back to the fact that Valve has recommended you play through the entire series and the episodic content before you play Half-Life Alyx. This has led some to speculate that maybe there's a possible time jump at the end of Half-Life Alyx, maybe something that gives us some closure to that cliffhanger at the end of Half-Life 2 Episode 2, but at minimum, we know Half-Life Alyx is going to set up more games in the Half-Life universe. Now, the Half-Life series is no stranger to time travel. In fact, Gordon Freeman did time travel. Well, really, he just remained in stasis for 20 years, but either way, that's basically time travel. So, as the title implies, you will be playing as Alex Vance. This was your main companion from the Half-Life 2 series, and the events will take place during the rise of the Combine's power. While humanity has already lost the 7-hour war, negotiated a surrender, and live under a brutal occupation, pockets of resistance still remain, and Alex Vance and her father Eli are members of that resistance. The events of this game are going to take place basically over the course of just one day. There are supposed storyline leaks out on the internet, but Reddit and many other communities are doing the best they can to crack down on this. But the reaction from people who either supposedly have already completed the game or have read those leaks is that we are either in store for some type of crazy amazing twist, or Valve just did a phenomenal job at setting up the Half-Life world for future content. We'll just have to wait and see on this one. Now, we do have a lot of confirmed information on the gameplay mechanics. Now, you can play seated or standing. There's even support for one-armed individuals, and there are 3 different modes of locomotion, including teleportation, a shift locomotion, and free locomotion. The game will not have the traditional 14 plus weapons that Gordon Freeman used to run around with. Instead, you're only going to have a handful of weapons, but they will be upgradable. Your other main item is the gravity gloves, which fit in amazingly well with both VR mechanics and actually the Half-Life world, because an iconic weapon from Half-Life 2 is the gravity gun. So being able to pull items towards you makes sense not only in VR but also in this universe. We know that at least the majority of enemies from the Half-Life 2 game will show up in Half-Life Alyx. This includes the head crabs, barnacles, civil police, Overwatch, and a couple variations on those formulas. In some of the previews, we've seen head crab zombies with collars that explode when you shoot them. Now, jumping into speculation mode, my expectations for Half-Life Alyx are that many aspects of the original Half-Life formula will remain, but there will be some significant changes. Now, the Half-Life series has some significant standouts, the first being an amazing attention to detail. There's tons of foreshadowing and Easter eggs, but above all else, they build a believable world. And this goes hand in hand with their amazing level design. The entire Half-Life 2 game is built out as one giant map, like they were building a real city. And if there were no boundaries, or if you turned off clipping, you can walk from the beginning straight to the Citadel to the end of the game. And while you are taking in these amazing levels, it's almost as if the developers created the game on a minute-by-minute basis. Like, what can we do for the player now, and now, and now, to the point that you never know exactly what to expect. It's almost as if they get a kick out of trolling you. But it also somehow never feels cheap or unfair. They like to throw 2 or 3 problems at you at the same time. And I truly expect this to continue in Half-Life Alyx. There will be a lot of these scripted scenes or unexpected moments that just keep the game fresh and exciting, unlike what we've become so accustomed to in recent game development. There is no grind in a Half-Life game. There is only, wow, what is gonna happen next? Now, where things will shift a bit in VR is the fact that there will be no platforming. There was a significant amount of platforming in Half-Life 1 and 2, but we know directly from the developers that there's no jumping in this game. Valve has a mantra of comfort is king in VR, and they don't want barnacles to pull you up, and they don't want players jumping around. They want everyone to remain comfortable in VR. So in the place of platforming, we can expect some VR physics specific puzzles and other gameplay elements. Now, another change is obviously replacing Gordon Freeman with Alex Vance, and I do not expect Alex Vance to be the same tank of a person. Gordon Freeman had the HEV suit, which at times basically makes him invulnerable. You literally carry around 14 guns, shoot down tanks, helicopters, and even an array of giant alien creatures. I'm expecting Alex Vance to be a lot more vulnerable, not because she's a woman, simply because that's going to be more of the tone of this title. You are living in a brutal alien occupation, and you also do not have this super powered HEV suit. Now, jumping back to physics, we can expect them to be turned up to 11 in this title because physics played a major role in Half-Life 2, and we just know how impressive they can be in VR by sampling games like Boneworks and The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Currently, I do not have any doubt in my mind that this is going to be an amazing title, but obviously we have to wait and see because we know the impact that hype can have. Now, one last thing you guys might not know about this game is that I'm going to be live streaming it on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you guys can jump in. I know a lot of people don't want the game spoiled, but I hope you guys will join me. If you made it this far in the video, 11 minutes in, mean, I guess you like me, so maybe you'll pop in and hang out with me. If you do, I really appreciate it. And if you like this video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I do a ton of VR content, usually the news, and I'm always checking out new games. Alright guys, I will see you on next time.